What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And let's just crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Otherwise Office 330. Am I the arsehole for telling my niece the truth about her adoption? Throwaway account. I, 48 female, have two wonderful children. My adoptive daughter Kelly, 16 female, and biological daughter Amy, 14 female. Growing up, I always knew I wanted children, but always on the fence about a lasting romantic relationship. So once I was more established, I started looking into adoption. Because I was going to be a single parent, it was a rough process for me, so I was ecstatic when my sister, 42 female, approached me about adopting her unborn baby. For the sake of clarity, I contacted a lawyer and drew up adoption papers that I wanted my sister to sign, but she was always putting it off, saying that while she intended to give up the baby, it was still hard. Eventually, I decided to give her space, but was still paying for everything. After my niece, Claire, 19 female, was born, I was so happy to take her home, but after 3 months my sister said that she and the father got back together and wanted their daughter back. Things did not go down well, and since she was the biological mother, legally, she had every right to change her mind, and our parents were on her side. Eventually she was able to legally get her daughter back, and I was crushed and insulted when she asked me for all of her baby stuff. I let her keep some of the stuff as a gift to my niece, but told my sister that this would be the last thing I ever gave her in help with the baby, and that I wasn't going to be an ATM for her. I didn't see or speak to my sister or parents for 2 years and was in therapy. It was a long process, but I was able to be a mum again when I adopted Kelly. She has given me so much joy, and I wanted nothing but the best for her, so I put her in private schools, paid for extracurricular activities, and took her overseas a lot. I didn't think my life could get any better until I accidentally got pregnant with Amy. In spite of being on the fence about kids, Amy's father really stepped up, and we have a very good co-parenting relationship. He's even taken Kelly under his wing and is planning on including her in his will. I was able to reconnect with my parents over time, and while my sister and I are on better terms, it'll never be as close as we once were. Now that Claire is older, she's been visiting me a lot more since her school is the same state as me. And one day while I was cleaning out the attic, I didn't realise that our old adoption papers were still up, and Claire managed to get a hold of them. She never knew about the adoption, and when she confronted, I admitted that for the first 3 months of her life, I was her legal guardian. I thought it would be a no big deal sort of thing, until my sister called me raging that I turned her daughter against her. Apparently Claire was always jealous of Kelly's and Amy's lives, and feels cheated of having a better life. Claire's not speaking to her mum, who thinks I did all this on purpose, and my parents believe I shouldn't have said anything or just lied. Am I the arsehole? ETA, I didn't think it was a big deal because Claire seemed surprised and was very calm throughout the whole situation and didn't give me any indication that this upset her, which is why my sister calling was so shocking to me. Plus her mum fought to get her back and had Claire before her first birthday. ETA 2, for the skeptics who think this was a revenge plot nearly 20 years in the making. I admit, for the first couple of years, I couldn't throw away the adoption papers because a part of me was in denial. So my therapist recommended that I keep them but just put them away somewhere, and then we would revisit getting rid of them. Between that time and now, I've moved around at least twice and the papers got lost in the shuffle somewhere. I knew I still had them somewhere but couldn't really remember where, and then Claire got a hold of them. Now I think OP is just in an incredibly tough situation here. You know, their therapist suggested that they keep this paperwork, and it just got lost through various moves and things like that. And when niece did find them, what was you supposed to say? Lie? I'm always someone that the truth will always come out in the end. And all you did to me in this situation is tell the truth after she found the papers. You wasn't intentionally stirring up trouble or anything like that. You just told the truth, which I kind of feel like you had every right to do in this situation. So I'm going to go with a not the arsehole on this one. But we'll move on to the comments to see what they say. And we'll start with Drizzle Pop saying, not the arsehole. Claire is 19 years old and you told her the truth. Your sister was allowed to change her mind way back when, and you had to deal with it. So now that her daughter knows the truth, sister can deal with it. And Any Scientist 7467 says, not the arsehole. Your sister had every opportunity to explain to her daughter the first 3 months of her life. You didn't intentionally put the papers in her face. Truth be told, it was also a painful part of your past as well. Your sister doesn't get to rage. Really, the only person who has the right to rage is you. Apparently your sister never quite grew up. And Girl Supersonic Boy says not the arsehole. It's not like you went out your way to give her the papers and speak ill of your sister. Your niece found them by accident and you told her the truth. What does your sister expect you to do? Lie? How can you lie about legal documents? Your niece can read. She knows what the papers mean. And Cruelly May says, not the arsehole. Claire is an adult. Once she found the adoption papers, it would be pretty clear to her that you were, at one point, much more involved in her life than she knew. Even if you had suggested that it wasn't your place to say, she could have used the papers to counter that and demand an immediate explanation. Claire's relationship with your sister sounds like it was always teetering on contentious. I doubt your sister was even considering telling Claire. The feelings of abandonment and missing out on the life she has witnessed her cousins experiencing will have brought up no matter what. The papers speak for themselves. Your sister's preoccupation with any resentment over Claire's adoption suggests that she is looking at this the wrong way. By saying that you turned Claire against her, she is bypassing the fact that she herself had a responsibility to tell Claire the truth. Of course you did no such thing. That's all on your sister's lack of transparency with her daughter. Whether it be because she didn't know how or was just going to keep it a secret for life. Now, what would you do in this situation? I think OP was in an incredibly tough situation here. But let me know your thoughts below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Isold saying, would I be the arsehole if I didn't give my mother more of my inheritance? I'll try and keep this short and factual as possible. Happy to answer any questions in the comments. Me 35 female, mum 59 female. My paternal grandmother has passed away. In her will she left money to several people. My mother and myself were included. I was given roughly $120,000. My mother was given $10,000, which surprised both of us because she and my grandparents never got along. Grandfather is also deceased. I know $120,000 sounds like a lot, especially when you compare it to $10,000. However, the past few years have been quite rough financially. Mum and I were both on food stamps at one point, and I am not going to have much left over once I pay off the student loans, credit cards, my car note, etc. So this is what I'd like to do. Apart from paying bills, I set aside some money for St. Jude, some for my cousins who were not named in the will but who were close to my grandmother, and an extra $10,000 for my mother. This plan makes my mother very upset. She says I need to give her at least $25,000. She wants to get a new apartment and start a home business, and she says not giving her the extra money is ensuring that she cannot live a good life. She has brought it up so many times now. She presses me on this pretty much daily, even though I've told her to stop. I'm starting to doubt myself here. Would I be the arsehole if I refused to give her any more? Edit 1 to everyone concerned about taxes. I appreciate it, but there's no need to worry. That aspect of things has already been handled. Also, I plan on meeting with a financial advisor very soon. Edit 2, I'm sincerely grateful to everyone offering their input and support. My inbox is going crazy. It may take a while, but no matter how many comments there are, I will be reading every single one. Thank you. Now I'm going to come into this one and it feels like a slightly selfish angle when I think about it, so I'm not sure if I'm totally correct, but I think OP shouldn't be giving the money out sort of willy-nilly, if you know what I mean. They shouldn't be giving it out to the cousins and giving the mum extra. They should be looking after themselves first because the inheritance was from the grandparents to OP. They said that they wanted OP to have this and use the money for herself. So I think, you know, you should use the money from yourself. And I think the mother in this is being very, very entitled to be pressing you on this every day. I mean, sure, she can mention it once and say, oh, is there any chance? And that'd still be an arsehole move. But to keep pressuring you every single day as well and trying to manipulate you into giving more money is a big arsehole move. But I think you really need to look after yourself and look after your future first before you start splashing out that money to everyone else. And again, that may feel selfish, and I'm not sure if I feel selfish in saying it, but I think that's what you need to do and be a bit smarter about it. Put it in a savings account or something, because you never know what's going to come up in the future. Life throws so many curveballs, as I found out for the last few years myself, so you need to look after yourself in some way so then you can look after others afterwards. But Thrill Doctor says, not the arsehole. You would not be the arsehole. Gram left her what she felt was fair and generous. Use the money for you. You don't need to give to the cousins or to your mother. That was not the intention of the will, because if it were, they'd already gotten more. Invest in yourself. Put it away for the future, a safety net. That way you're able to do things that may be a little riskier than if you have none. That is what your grandmother wanted. Yes, donate to charity, don't donate to family. It will, as you're finding out, never be enough. And according television says not the arsehole, you are not responsible for her moving to a new apartment and starting a new business. She can earn that money herself. I think $10,000 is plenty generous already. And Ashes says not the arsehole, why are you giving her any? Your grandmother left that for you. If she wanted your mum to have 20k, she would have given it to her. This isn't even your mum's parents' right. Your post says paternal grandmother. Don't disrespect your grandmother. Keep your money and make your life better as your dad's parents intended. And Right Today says, I think it's even a bit rude to give your mum extra money, since that money was clearly not intended for her. She should be incredibly grateful for any penny you send her way. The fact that she demands that money makes it very clear to me that it probably won't be enough if you do give in. And Guinevere Morgan says you would not be the arsehole, not at all. You should not give your mother any money. I have a feeling your grandmother only gave your mother that much so she couldn't contest the will. And we have one more from A-Base saying, not the arsehole, you were given the money, it's yours to use as you see fit. Be clear with your mother that you've made your plans for this money and they are not up for discussion, and then follow through. If she brings it up, end the call, leave the room, etc. And quotes, she says not giving her the extra money is ensuring she cannot live a good life. And then says, I'm sure you know, but just in case you need to hear from a stranger. This is untrue and very unfair manipulation. Now, what would you do if you was in that situation? Would you be tempted to, hand that money out to other family members? Or would you keep the money and invest in yourself like the will kind of says? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Clay Oops. Am I the arsehole for inviting my sister's ex to my engagement party without explicitly asking said sister? So I got engaged over the weekend and my mum and I have been planning a small get together in her backyard to celebrate. We sent out the e-invites tonight. My sister is significantly older than me by 12 years. I'm 21 and she's 33. She was with Mark, for almost a decade, and he was around for all of my teen years. He was basically an uncle to me. They broke up last year. It wasn't exactly amicable, but not the worst breakup ever. I've told my sister multiple times that I miss Mark being around, and it's been hard on everyone losing him. She knows we were close and has never been upset that I miss him. I mentioned to her in passing that he would be invited to my wedding and associated parties a few months ago, when I got the suspicion my boyfriend was going to propose. She was totally fine with it. Well, she found out he is actually coming and flipped out on me for not asking her before inviting him. Now my mum has turned around and said that I probably should have asked her and she didn't realise I hadn't when she sent the invite email. She said it was a huge betrayal. Am I the arsehole for inviting him without asking her? Now, I think I would have to say you are going to be the arsehole in this one. And it's one of these ones where you have to put yourself in that person's shoes and try to get the feeling of how that person might be feeling. And this is your sister. In this, it doesn't seem like you have much consideration towards your sister's feelings. It's all about how you're feeling towards Mark. I know, he's got a great name and all, but you can't invite him along because, of their breakup and stuff like that. But you need to step into your sister's shoes in this and consider her feelings. How would you feel in that situation? Imagine your ex turning up after a not so great breakup and then having to spend an afternoon or evening with that person. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So I think you would be the arsehole just from that perspective. And I'd be very interested to know if anyone has any different takes on that one. But Mama02D4 says, you're the arsehole and frankly being pretty awful to your sister, and quotes, they broke up last year. It wasn't exactly amicable. Then says Kay, so you're aware of the situation then, and being an adult, you should understand. And quotes again saying, I've told my sister multiple times that I miss Mark being around. Then says, stop. This is selfish of you. You're allowed to feel that way and you're allowed to talk about it, but leave her alone with it. You're an adult, not a child. Talk to someone else about how much you miss your sister's ex. In fact, you miss Mark and want to talk to Mark. Go talk to Mark. Why in the world would you talk to your sister out missing him when you're presumably a fully functioning adult that can go visit him on your own? Then quotes one more time saying, flipped out on me for not asking her before inviting him. And then says, yes, again, you are an adult. This was insensitive at best. ETA, based on the fact that you and Mark still talk frequently and are going to be getting together, there is zero reason for you should be telling your sister you miss Mark, since he is very much still in your life. Just how frequently do you need to see your, air quotes, uncle? You're a 21-year-old adult woman who is about to be married. Time to act like one. And Quantum Pussy says, You're the arsehole. Look, it's your party and you can invite anyone you want, but breakups are hard and you absolutely should have given your sister a heads up. Also, please stop going on about how much you miss him to her. That's not fair. And Knives says, you're the arsehole. Why does this guy need to be invited to a small family get together when he's not technically family anymore? If your sister is uncomfortable with having her ex there because they ended on bad terms or something, then you should side with your sister over siding with her ex-husband. And Raindrop says you're the arsehole. Do you want to keep your relationship with your sister? Then you won't invite him. It sounds like you were throwing out a hypothetical a few months ago, if she is only now flipping out. I can't imagine my little sister doing such a thing to me. Mark was your assistant's significant other, not your uncle. Never was and never will be. This may hurt to hear, but you need to let him go, OP. For the sake of your relationship with your sister. Inviting him to your wedding is crossing a major boundary that shouldn't even need to be stated. And OP replies to this saying, nah, he was in my life for a decade starting at 12. He'll always be Uncle Mark. Then it starts to get a little bit spicy with Good Neighbor replying to this one saying, huge you're the arsehole after seeing your response to all the comments. You've basically picked Uncle Mark. You'll have to lose your sister. Uncle Mark or your sister. Also, you're 21 and you act like you're 13. If you're so insensitive and immature about this, are you really ready to get married? And OP replies again saying, it's immature to expect someone to act civil around an ex for 2 hours. Alright. Ooh, the attitude. And we'll have one more from AITA Miss before it gets too spicy in here. You're the arsehole. No matter how relationships end, positively or negatively, breakups are still hard. You should have made it clear to your sister that he was going to be invited and gave her a chance to either prepare herself or ask you not to invite him and arrange something else. Her being okay with him being invited, in theory, you mentioned it in passing, she might have believed you were considering it but weren't sure of it. Being okay with you guys missing him is a lot different than her being okay with him being invited to family events and her having to actually see him. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? I thought it was like an arsehole move to begin with, but then you read the attitude in the comments as well, and it's like, ooh, dear. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. Follow me, you spicy so-and-sos. And our next story comes from Blocks and Dis. Am I the arsehole for cutting up a task book my girlfriend made because I found it insulting? I, 27 male, dated my girlfriend, 26 female, for almost 3 years before we moved in together a few months ago. We've been fighting about chores the whole time so far, while things were great before. It first started when she interrupted me and makes requests for what I could do to help her that day. Okay, no problem, I can help. I did dishes and took out the garbage and stuff. I'm not a slacker. Eventually, I was mad at her interrupting me so much in the day and we fought. So her solution the next day was to make a list of chores pinned inside the closet, and she said whenever I can help, just check the list and do anything on it. I already felt then I was treading on over-controlling roommate territory because she can be very fussy and likes stuff tidier than me, and I didn't want to fight, so I agreed. Even though she asked for minimum 1 chore a day. As if I'm an employee, and this isn't my home as well, to relax after work. After a few weeks, she was still coming home to tell me how I do chores wrong and making more requests. I said I don't like being interrupted for chores all day and it's bad for my mental health. And she said she doesn't like living in a dirty apartment for her mental health. It isn't dirty, just not flawless, which also annoyed me because it's our home and she insulted it and we fought about that as well. She ended up printing out a whole fucking book. It has sections with sticky tabs and extremely overly specific instructions like, if you can clean the toilet using X products, we keep paper towels under the sink and cleaning stuff on the first shelf in the pantry, and make sure you scrub under the bowl with a brush and flush afterwards and check the floor for whatever. Make sure you use disposable cloths, and just that for literally pages of step-by-step instructions. She said, use this book when you have time to do chores and I won't come bother you. Obviously, it was insulting because she gave me this stupid manual that she clearly spent time in writing. She doesn't need it, but I do apparently, and it treats me like a literal child or idiot who can't do anything without hand-holding or lectures. I thought I was moving in with a girlfriend, not a manager. In that moment, I just cut it up with scissors and threw it in the trash. So after that, we fought again. She thinks I'm being unreasonable, and I think she's being a micromanager. I think we have problems, but it isn't the chores. Was I an arsehole for ruining her work in this situation when I literally never even asked for that project she chose to do? Edit, I came back to a ton of comments and lots of different opinions. Thanks for all the replies and DMs. I'm trying to read and respond to as many as I can, but I probably won't get to them all anytime soon. And we're going to start straight away with And Still the Sun Rises, saying, so you don't like when she asks you to help because it interrupts you. You don't like when she makes lists. You don't listen to her instructions, but also don't want her to write the instructions. Have you considered that you are in fact a slacker? Since apparently I'm at the top, I'll add judgment. You're the arsehole. And Capable Ad says, you're the arsehole. After you made it sound like doing one chore a day is something an employee would do in his own home, I made up my mind. First you say that you aren't a slacker, and then you say doing a chore a day isn't okay because you want to relax in your own home. Makes me wondering how you did the chores. So either you meant that differently, I understood it wrong, or you aren't doing chores and your SO was put off ideas to make you do them properly, so she made you an instruction book. And Conifer says, you're the arsehole. You refer to doing chores as helping her, when in fact you have equal responsibility to do them. And they are not chores, they are part of being a responsible adult and maintaining your home. She is not a maid, so unless you agreed a non-equal split when you moved in, e.g. if you work longer hours and pay more rent and so she does more housework, then you need to step up and do your fair share. She has suggested ways to manage the split of work, and instead of discussing it, you throw a tantrum like a child. So yes, then you pushed her more to mother you. A natural response to your behaviour, but an unhealthy dynamic for a relationship. Moving in together is when you really find out if you're compatible. You need to both sit together calmly and figure this out, or else go your separate ways. Your call, but for both your sakes, figure out this sooner rather than later. Now, what do you guys make of today's collection of stories? A huge thank you for spending 20 minutes of your day with the channel and getting involved. If you have a moment of your time, would you please consider hitting that like button if you did enjoy? And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Thank you for your love, support and time, and I will see you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.